Hey YouTube, Mark here with a tutorial video. So I want to show you guys how I clean up the PlayStation 2 imagery in post. Uh, as we all know, well maybe you don't, but you will now, the PlayStation 2's image quality is kind of lacking when you compare it to say like the GameCube and the Xbox, the OG Xbox, using component cables. So there are ways to make the picture look better for your YouTube videos or whatever other video you might want to be putting online. This method, I actually had learned it from videocopilot.net quite a while ago. Had used it previously in other freelance type stuff, but I will link you to that because you're going to need you're going to need Andrew's files in order to actually clean up the picture. However, the difference between his and this is that, well, number one, he's using DV tape, which is ancient compared to today's standards. And of course, we're using completely all digital recordings using my Elgato. So the other major difference, however, is that we will upscale it to a full 1080p using Red Giant Software's Instant 4K. And it looks pretty decent when you do that. Pretty much no loss of quality, but you can still tell that it, is definitely not native. And using that plugin, you could technically increase it to 4K. However, I think that's kind of silly. So we're just going to stick to using it for 1080p because, a lot of people's YouTube videos are 1080p. And, I don't know. 1080p is good enough for me. So that's what we're going to use. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into After Effects and get right to it. Alright, so what we're going to do is, first off, make sure that you have the files from videocopilot.net. Now they're only going to work if your footage is 480i. If it's 1080i, these particular files won't work for what we're going to do. However, I'm sure you can get some interlaced scan lines that are in 1080i. So right now, I got my footage here. We're going to go ahead and drag that in. And we want to make sure that some settings are done here. So let's see, we got to interpret the footage. We go to main. Alright, so we got 2997 is our frames per second, which essentially is 30 frames per second. This is what it is from the file. So we're gonna want to use that. Separate fields. We actually want to turn this off, and that should do it for that part. So what we're going to do then is just go ahead and drag this down here, and it'll create the project. And let me show you. Let's see. You can kind of look at it. There's some. See, you can see the scan lines right in here. This is what we're going to clean up. And then when I'm done cleaning that up, I'll show you how to upscale it without any loss of quality using the Red Giant Software's upscaler. So first thing we need to do is take our scan lines file from Video Copilot, and we're just going to go ahead and put it right over there. So for segment 1, which is our Ninja Turtles footage, I want to make sure that it's on a Lumamat with scan lines. So what that does is it makes it so that the scan lines are 100% visible for the entire footage. Now, for some retro games, this, some people like this look, and maybe that's what you're going to want. I suppose you could render it out that way if you wanted to, but So now that we have that, we're going to go ahead and select both of these, and we're going to right click and pre-compose, and just put TMNT comp, and so that's that. And then what we want to do is duplicate it. So you can go to edit, duplicate, or in my case it'll be Command D. I'm not 100% sure what it would be on Windows. So, and then the next step is we're gonna go to the bottom layer, and we want to go to let's see, um, we want the blur and sharpen. We're gonna go to directional blur, and blur length is set to 1. And now you can't really, I mean, it did something. You can kind of see a little bit, but it's still not quite there. So what we need to do is we need to go to levels, and I'll just type it in here. Just go ahead and drag that on there. Set that to alpha channel and bring this up. There we go. So now on the bottom layer, you're going to have directional blur, and then you'll have your levels. And if we shut these off, you can see scan lines are gone. And right here, you can see that the interlacing is also gone. So that's pretty good. Actually, it looks pretty good. Let's see what we got. Yeah, that's not bad. So there are some other things we can do as well to make it a little better. So what we're going to do is go ahead and we're going to pre-compose that and put deinterlaced TMNT. So now we got that comp, and what I want then is color correction, and we're going to want brightness and contrast. Just drag that on top, and I want, let's see, we're bringing the contrast up. Brightness, you can bring the brightness up too if you want. And also what I want is to sharpen it. A little bit. Alright. So that looks pretty good. See? Alright then. Now comes the fun part. We're going to go ahead and pre-compose that again. And we're going to call this upscale. And we need to get back to our project here. Right here, and we're going to go to our composition settings. And as you can see, it's set up for 480p currently. We're going to go ahead and bump that up to 1080p. Right here. There we go. Okay. So as you can see, this is your 480p. I mean, this is essentially what the PlayStation 2, the GameCube, and most of the Xbox games, this is their screen size on your 1080p screen. You know, and they essentially get upscaled by the television itself. So we're going to do it a little bit different. You know, it's not going to be hardware. So I'll go to my Red Giant shooter suite, and we're going to use their instant 4K. Now, gosh, I don't know how many years ago it was, but it used to be called instant 1080p or instant, what was it? Instant HD is what they used to call it. So you can still do HD though. So what we're going to do, we're going to do best, quality, I want max, Anti-aliasing, we'll go ahead and max that out. And let's see here, sharpness, don't need to worry about that. See, we got the various different settings here, but we're going to put to, let me see, we want the height because we want to keep our aspect ratio. And so that would be that. And really it's no loss of quality there. It's pretty awesome, actually, how it works. Now I have to render it out before it's going to run, run at full speed. But so I'll go ahead and render that out, and then I'm going to show you essentially what it looks like upscaled, and a couple tweaks here and there. But this essentially, when I show off some PlayStation games or PlayStation 2 games, this is what I would normally do, unless the game itself supports 480p, which most of them don't. So, and I may not if I am kind of feeling lazy for that particular video. But this is the best way to get the best picture, and I kind of recommend it. There are actually some other things that we could do to it as well, like cropping it so that this would be black. Maybe even we can, let's see, we could actually try this too. We'll scale it up a bit. Now, that's a little better, I suppose. And then we're going to bring it down. Let's see here. There. And then I think what I'll do, go ahead and add sharpen on this filter here. What is that? That sounds funny. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and I will render this out. Going to composition, and normally I would send it out to the media right here, media encoder, but being it's so small, it doesn't really matter. We'll just send it to the render queue. And for our output, definitely don't want it to be I don't want it to be set to animation, because that's going to be very big. If you're going to be putting it into Final Cut or Premiere, you probably want it to be ProRes. But for right now, I'm just going to go ahead and put it for H.264 and hit that, and leave the audio the way it is. Hit OK, and new folder, TMNT upscale, and that's what we're going to call it, and render. Why can't you render? Okay, whatever. Alright, so that's going to render, and I'll hit you back as soon as it's done.
Mind your environment, my son. Learn to lean onto the edges of a surface to grab it and climb or stay out of sight. Sometimes letting go of an edge when you think the time is right is the best thing to do. Throw yourself from one edge to another. Simply move towards the other edge, performing a jump at the same time, and grab onto it.
So as you can see, the footage here looks considerably better than the original. I mean, it just looks better. So I like to use this method as much as I can, to be honest. Unless, of course, like I said before, if I'm feeling a little bit lazy, or if I'm trying to get something out quick, because it does take time, and rendering it with all the various filters adds to the render time. And my computer, you know, it's not a slouch by any means, but it's also not like the greatest. So, but anyway, just want to thank everyone for watching. Hopefully, you learned something new. I know when I originally found Video Copilot's tutorial on this, it made deinterlacing for me a lot easier. I used to do it in Apple Shake, which, you know, I still have that, even though it hasn't really been used in forever. But the methods there, actually, they're easier to do, but the output of it isn't as good as this particular method. So that's why I kind of like to use this one. And so, you know, if you enjoyed everything, I hope you you know, like and subscribe if you haven't. In fact, please subscribe, because every week Greg and I have our we have our All Things Video Games podcast, and you know, a lot of times we got some pretty good topics that we talk about, and we would love to hear everyone's feedback. Plus, check out the social media links, our website with, you know, Greg's articles, which I've said it a few times already, but he's one hell of a writer. So, with all that being said, you know, like always, happy gaming.